Everybody, this is Rich. Okay, at this point, I'm going to archive an entire lifetime in a couple of videos that are labeled conclusion. Okay? There's a very good reason. I understand I'm exceedingly fortunate to be able to do what I've done on these videos. I've disclosed an entire lifetime. You've seen me take what's consisted of my entire lifetime. They're all the way down, okay? And I've continued to clarify them and refine them so you get to know me really well. There's no reason for me to do these conclusions, but I'm going to do them anyhow, exactly where I am today, okay? You know that I come, for the first 7 years of my life, from a good near north area of Chicago. My parents relocated out to Deerfield in 1967. That my history throughout a good chunk of the foundation of what makes me who I am today originated on the Chicagoland North Shore. You know everything about me. If you go back to the very first video, I've fully described everything, 1967 through 91, okay? You know everything. I guess what we're really relating about, though, is some experience I gained beginning in 1986. That's what it really comes out to be, okay? It's my career. It's someone that went to Deerfield High School, and we all grow up, and we adapt to adulthood. And, you know, that occurred for me, at least when the first half was lost at age 24 in 1984. And that I was able to achieve a career outcome, which I was exceedingly fortunate. I understand that experience I was able to gain. I was extremely fortunate to gain that experience here. Okay? And you don't know anything about me, so I can share and relate to you. And if you were up north of Chicago, you'd be able to thoroughly relate. If you don't know anything about my background, that's most likely why I have truly done what I have done by retaining all of these close to 100 videos. You can go back and you can get a complete, in-depth, specific history of me. I've disclosed everything in an entire lifetime. But let's look at the focus of what it really comes out to be. It started in 1986. I was able to go into Lake Forest, Illinois, and that is a top business management, a top graduate business management environment, quite possibly one of the most successful and the best in all of the nation. Okay? And what I've stated is 100% honest that I review between 1986 up through 2001, particularly the first half. I was able to get myself among the very most successful practically in the nation. And I was able to verbally relate to them in a manner that was very desirable for exactly what they were looking for. That's a business expertise I was gaining, okay? And I don't know how many people are able to get themselves in a situation by placing display yellow page ads up and down the Chicagoland North Shore where 50% of your business comes from Lake Forest, and get yourself among the most successful business leaders, many of them in the nation. That's old money. And I've developed very solid verbal communication skills. What I understand is literally the highest level of expectations verbally and exceed them. That is experience I was able to gain over close to an 8-year period, a couple of thousand times. Okay? Now, not all of them are the most successful business leaders. It's a very wide diversification. Doctors, dentists, psychiatrists, psychologists, you know, the whole spectrum of the entire, I mean, when you look at all the different sectors of careers that, you know, individuals pursue, that was probably about as high level as it comes. I guess it's not a celebrity background. It's mainly business success. These are business professionals. A good chunk of that I picked up was exceedingly high level experience. Anyhow, I was able to effectively communicate to them on the phone, verbally, and I'm aware their expectations from that type of clientele base is exceedingly high. Am I able to relate to them in a manner that everything added up, head on? That's something that I understand is a business expertise, to communicate verbally in that nature, where it was very desirable to them. And I met them at their home, and I have to leave this between you and I. They check you out for honesty, integrity, and it's the healthiest context. I was able to get myself among some very successful individuals, the top. And I don't know if that's really the top, but I'm taking a guess in a graduate business management environment. It would be considered at least one of the top in the nation. I met them at their home. I exactly what they were looking for. When it was all said and done, clearly I well exceeded their expectations. That is the honest truth. That is the honest truth. Many comments of people letting me know about the quality of all the businesses they had interacted with. They clearly told me I'm by far one of the most outstanding. They didn't necessarily come out and say it in that manner. They may have related it, related to the quality of services that they receive, or some other context as far as in relationship to a top business management environment. And in any case, I gained roughly 8 years of experience, a couple of thousand times, where I've gained a tremendous amount of business experience. If you're able to achieve that, gain that kind of experience, I understand I am most fortunate. In fact, honestly, I've only experienced the highest level of honesty, integrity, in the healthiest context throughout my life. That is as honest as I can be. That was for over 40 years. Lake County, and particularly on the Chicagoland North Shore. That is honest. That's who I am. And so when it's all come said and done, I was able to get myself in a situation among the very most successful who wanted to give me a hand to create success in what up there is truly a perfectly healthy economy. I can prove that's, is it 30 years of my life? It's from 1967 through about 1996. So what is that? 67, 96, close to 30 years. But that specific career experience was for about 8 years, plus or minus. I was told that the hard skills are completely irrelevant. Neither is the product or service. They actually shared with me, as I later learned, considerably later, is actually EQ. But when I clearly relate what I have just done with you to anybody else, I understand that is good, solid career expertise. You can't get much better than that. And for me, it was gained in experience. I don't even question to disclose that's true about my career history. I didn't even question. I had a very successful career ahead of me. I knew it. And I retained only about 1/4 to 0.5% of my original records. I should have kept everything and documented it, because I'm used to the highest level of honesty and integrity, so I kept just enough to be able to prove it. And I knew from that type of business experience, you're very fortunate, which I am. That's who I am. That's all of my history up there. And so I decided, okay, there was some inheritance too. I want to be thoroughly honest about that. But I absolutely promise you, if you go back in earlier videos where I took a whole lifetime, I've repeated this over and over again, clarifying it further. And I must have met with 100 PhDs in vocational psychology. That was the most outstanding aspect. And so I knew, who knows better than me what's true about myself? We can only share and relate common similarities. And for me, I knew it was a PhD in vocational psychology, professional career counseling right off the bat. I knew that. And what I should have sought was professional career counseling immediately. And I decided to attempt to catch up on those actual hard skills in something that would have lasted me for the rest of my life. Air conditioning, refrigeration. And it's obvious that would have happened considerably earlier in life. But I was able, through the hard skills that I had, to gain that business experience, which I understand is fully realistic. That's very valuable experience. I am truly someone fully experienced at creating success, where there's tremendous growth potential in a perfectly healthy economy. That's the background I come from. You'll hear in earlier reviews, my father was a certified accountant. I was exposed to it at an exceedingly early age. Probably before, I understand most of that was grown-up stuff, but I'm sure it had some influence on me. Another thing I need to mention, even though it's out of context a little bit of what I'm clearly sharing with you as far as my career, as far as personal development. I come from a great childhood. Normal. Always normal. I do come from a normal childhood, absolutely. And I'm very fortunate, though, that in my upbringing from a very early age, I was encouraged to build on curiosity. And that curiosity, growth, and maturity goes on indefinitely. I'm someone who's been encouraged to go out and learn as much as you can. That curiosity, growth, and maturity goes on indefinitely. And I tend to learn how things work. And I'll come back to you, and I'll share what I've learned with you, and then I'm able to learn what's true about myself. That reciprocal aspect is very precious to me. I've been very fortunate, and I understand at the highest level of social science expertise, perfectly normal. I've been told many times it's a higher level of growth and maturity than most people achieve in their lifetime. Normal. It makes me most interesting. Very interesting. I understand I'm pretty much used to PhD and master substance. That's the background that I come from. I've invested a lot of time with very high level substance. And so I'm fully aware of my psychological makeup. I've learned it, and that's been consistent for over 40 years. As you mature and grow, as we experience different development stages of life and towards maturity. So I have learned completely what's true about my psychological makeup at the highest level that actually happened up and down on the Chicagoland North Shore with those clients that were in that specific field. See, so I've learned everything, and that curiosity and growth and maturity goes on indefinitely. That's who I am. That's what's true about my background. So you know everything about me. I've done 100 videos here to be able to get to the point. I'm bundling up now these experiences, thousands of them over my lifetime, and now putting them in a couple of word sentences or paragraphs. That's exactly why you see these videos that I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. I'm doing that. I understand it's very healthy, very healthy. It could be for other reasons too, and I want to disclose that. Where I am at the present time, I'm in absolute survival. And I believe, without any question, I'll be skipping way ahead. So I don't want to do that. I want to keep it exactly chronological, the best I can. I know I have skipped around here. In any event, like many people, I knew. No, that's going to come next. So, yes, I was able to gain some very valuable career experience. I knew exactly what I was looking for. A PhD in vocational psychology straight off the bat. I retained a 0.25%, 0.5% of that career history. And the only thing I needed was somebody to brand me. It's unheard of with someone with that type of experience. I knew I was set for a solid career the rest of my life with that experience. And until I came out to Birmingham, but I'm going to get into that. Many people do relocate to the southern states, and I decided, hey, that experience is going to follow me no matter where I go. Shouldn't make any difference. I mean, that's a huge population base, 1 million. You got Atlanta, that's another 4 million, and there's neighboring cities. That's 10 million. I didn't even question that would ever change about me. And so I decided, like many other people, to come to the southern states, and I decided to relocate down here in 2001 or 2, one of those two. And now that career is very important to me. I take that very seriously. I need growth, create success, the healthiest context, and that's the background I come from. And as stated, I was able to get myself in a top graduate management environment and gain some very valuable experience. And I understand that type of experience without any question. I've reviewed it repeatedly in earlier reviews. And I'm just trying to archive this. I knew that experience without any question would set me apart from the competition or create a long-term investment. And that's exactly what should have happened. It should have happened. That should have been, I still have that experience. So if I'm put back up in that Chicagoland North Shore, it will be a repeat. I know exactly the most solid business practices, which is the most significant challenge I understand organizations contend with. I would later learn it's actually EQ instead of IQ. But there's much more than that. In a couple of thousand experiences, I actually had the top business leaders in the nation want to give me a hand to create success exactly with top graduate business substance. I'm a middle-class individual, is what I am, that was able to gain some very valuable career experience. I related to the College Lake County just a couple of months ago, and they clearly said education completely irrelevant with that type of experience. If that experience that sets you so far ahead of most people. And I've spoken to many others in exact same context. It's always the same outcome. What was missing? It was that PhD in vocational psychology. I've gone to people who put together resumes, and they weren't able to get it. They probably thought it was a medical or psychological issue. It is not. It is not. I would never exaggerate, ever, ever. I have to prove myself. So I am being thoroughly honest. If I were to be put right back on the Chicagoland North Shore again with that clientele base, I am fully experienced in that respect. The highest level of expectations. I know exactly how to exceed their expectation. It's those verbal communication skills I was able to develop communications with meeting them at their home then, and they check you out for honesty, integrity, and everything about me adds up perfect. That's very important to them. And honestly, the honest truth, I'm able to well exceed their expectations in really good, solid business practices. That's very valuable experience. They started coming back to me, telling me the hard skills, the product service completely irrelevant. I've gained that experience a couple of thousand times. Not all of those. I'm talking about a total of a couple of thousand times I interacted with that population base. It's not quite that high, but there was a very high percentage of them that are absolutely the most successful in, I don't want to say the nation, but I'm going to say you look up Lake Forest and the ranking of Lake Forest Graduate School of Management business environment. Those was the clientele base I was able to gain that experience from. I'm used to it being among the most successful. That's honestly true, and I am highly experienced to work with concepts, create success. Yes, very unique and gifted experience. You know me much, much better now. Certainly that you have all of these files where I was able to archive, bundling up these words, sentences, and paragraphs like I'm doing right now. I desperately need a PhD in vocational psychology, and I knew exactly what I was looking for. Who knows myself better? Of course you seek the wise wisdom on the external factors in relating as far as learning and growing. I've been through the whole thing in that respect. I'm extremely fortunate for over 40 years. So thank you. I will do this as conclusion number 1. Of course, it's all career related, is all I'm relating about. It's a balanced, healthy lifestyle, and that's a very important one. I take that career of the utmost importance. And so you got my history now. From 1986, 2001, that was the first half. But it continued. I continued in that career in different markets and sectors. And then when pretty much the hard skills, I knew the hard skills are pretty much, given out. I decided to relocate to the southern states with that business experience of exactly what I've stated. Another thing, too, about Lake County and the Chicagoland North Shore is the only thing I know is the highest level of truth, honesty, integrity, in the healthiest context. That is 100% true about me. And I thought that would continue on with the rest of my life forever. Up in Lake County and the Chicagoland North Shore, it's a fully incorporated norm. That is all I experienced my entire life. I never experienced anything else but the highest level of honesty, integrity, in the healthiest context, in sharing and relating about similarities in relationships. I'm extremely fortunate that occurred after high school. Very fortunate, very. I'm used to people checking me out for honesty, integrity, in the healthiest context. That's all I know. That's the honest truth. That is what's really true about my history. From basically 1960 Drew 2001. Thank you for getting to know me.